So ArchibaldOS, how does it work? Let's say you got a quad-core CPU, right? My favorites are usually to go for i5s. To be honest with you, I do not remember if the 6500 I had was dual-threaded for each core, but let's just assume it is. So let's divide those up just like that, right? So ArchibaldOS is NixOS, but it's just using CachyOS's RT-Bohr kernel. And, all that shit that I just said, you might ask, well, what the fuck did you just even say there? Well, Nix is a package manager. Alright, so packages are like your software, even down to your damn kernel. And what's cool about Nix is you can integrate tools into it in your own little systems. And, they'll get put into mainline Nix, and one of those features is Flakes, and there's different things just like that. But there's also another thing called Musenix. And it doesn't sit at the kernel level, it sits at the Nix level, so you can modify different kernels that are are compatible with it. It's kind of funny, I get excited whenever I start explaining this stuff and saying it. But yeah, so the kernel is CachyOS's RT-Bohr kernel. You might ask, what the fuck does Bohr mean? RT is real time. Bohr is an acronym, something with burst. I forgot specifically, but it's really good for audio and playing guitar through it because, it's a lot of bursts of random data. And it's really good at doing that with multitasking. So what I do is I isolate 3 of the cores specifically for audio. Then this one is left out. The boot drive the boot core is left out to the actual operating system and visuals or whatever, the UI. This is basically just isolated for just pure audio stuff and the jack server. And what's kind of funny is on my daily driver, it basically inverts this. And what you do on the daily driver, so if you pull that out, say if you had a virtual machine, right, running a kexec image, these 2 threads that I mentioned earlier, when you run it as a virtual machine, you can do the same exact thing. You can have a high priority and low priority. What that basically means is low priority stuff could run basically all the different things that, just don't need to be as fast or whatever. It can kind of just sit there and help support whatever goes into the high. For example, you could get ray traced audio in a video game. All the ray tracing is done on this thread, and then you'd have effects done on this, let's say, I don't know, a modulator or some shit, and then you got ray tracing for figuring out how it would bounce off the walls in a room. That would be all off of one core. Obviously, I don't know if that would be actually possible or not. I think you'd probably need a pretty damn fast processor. I don't think a fucking quad-core i5 from the Obama era could do that. If it did, I'd be really surprised. But, yeah. So with all that, core isolation bullshit out of the way, let's get, let's see. What else is something that makes Archibald kind of weird? Because there's definitely a few quirks with it. Oh yeah, so when it comes to ARM CPUs, these little bastards are fucking hard to work with, because they have architectures that are more like this or some weird shit. You know, they got like the big brother, little brother setup or some shit. And that's just a pain in the dick to figure out with kernels and like real-time operating systems specifically. That's why it's very immature, and RISC is actually maturing faster than ARM. Just honestly pretty fucking depressing. Like, dude, ARM is one of the first architectures ever made, and then RISC is beating it now. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys, dude? Yeah, so ARM is kind of just bullshit. Even though I got the operating system to boot up on RPI 3B, it's not even running like a full real-time kernel. It's like basically like a partial real-time kernel, just running with like some Musinix tweaks. I mean, it booted and everything just fine. I just had an issue working with it because I cut the headers off, and I have to fucking figure out a way to solder a USB into it for my keyboard. Or I could just SSH into it. I'm just fucking lazy. I'm gonna test RPI 3B later. Like actual latency tests and everything. What I plan on doing though here soon is I want to get a RISC-V CPU. I've never really messed with one before, so I'm thinking about getting the Framework 13 to be honest. So that's the thing about RISC-V. I was doing some research on RISC-V, and what's cool about their whole system is that they're already working on an experimental real-time preemptive setup. And what's cool about the Linux kernel is that it's really modular, and to basically turn the Linux kernel into a real-time operating system, you just add a preemptive fucking flag, basically. Like, they have it all figured out where you basically just put like some sort of preemptive flag in like a certain part of it, and I don't really know too much about it because, you know, I'm not a kernel developer. I'm not gonna fucking touch that shit right now. I'm trying to stay away from that because that's just a rabbit hole I'm trying not to get into right now. Looks like I made a stupid ass face here. I just realized that. But let's just say though, it's like, how does all of this apply to you know, like making music and all that? Well, I'll explain. So you got analog signals. So they're these nice, smooth, you know, usually like sine wave looking signals. I mean, they don't have to be, obviously. You can get analog signals that look a whole bunch of different ways. But when they're digitized, you know, they're more like that. The reason why they're like that, yeah, ones and zeros. That's the only way you can, you know, get the fucking data to go through a computer. But real life doesn't work with zeros and ones. And that's why transhumanists are inherently wrong with their entire idea of us being able to integrate the machines, because they're not the same. You're degrading quality here. The curves are basically infinitely detailed. You can just keep getting smaller and smaller, and it's basically just trying to zoom in on a fucking atom at that point. Like, it's inherently impossible for computers to really get the same detail, and that's why you have different sampling bit rates and all that shit. But basically, you know, your average like Scarlett or Behringer USB interface, you know, it does all this shit. and it does it with an audio codec most of the time. So an audio codec, you know, the classic looking ones that have a bunch of shit like that, but now they have a bunch of little fucking circles like this, like balls all attached to them. Oh, you can't even see that. There you go. You know, it's just a ball grid array. Those fuckers are hard to work with. I don't like them, to be honest. But they have interfaces inside of them where it's basically like half digital and then half analog or whatever. Say if this signal is coming from a guitar, you get that in there, obviously with the ground in there too or whatever, and then it would output it as this to the CPU through I2S bus. And I2S bus is basically just like a different version of I2C. I mean, it's completely different in the way that it functions, but it's like very similar. It has like basically the same kind of wire configuration too. But when it comes to the CPU doing all this, you can send the data directly back, usually through the same line. And that's like what Texas Instruments is really good at doing. That's why I really like their hardware. But if you have it going straight back, this could go straight to an amplifier, and boom. This whole system running ArchibaldOS on an i5, I've been able to get like less than 5 milliseconds with pretty stable audio at like 24 bits. So what that would mean is 24 bits would just be fucking, you know. Alright. So you got your fucking RAM stick here, right? Let's just say USB drive here, right? So yeah, USB 3.0. I think it's got like a pretty good speed. I forgot the total specs. I think it's like fucking like at least a gigabyte a second or more. You know, fast as fuck. A lot of big payload. Whatever. It fucking, when it boots up, you know, does the normal process, stores everything into the memory, because obviously, you know, I mean, not all of the stuff gets loaded off the USB. I do lazy loading as well. So, a lot of the packages to keep ArchibaldOS really lightweight, they're actually still stored inside of the USB drive, and the reason why it's like that is because the RAM is fast as fuck, and keeping it open just keeps things, you know, fast as fuck. So, I keep all of my packaging in here specifically. It's like, oh damn. Fuck it. I was trying to avoid that. I was trying to stop the fucking yawn. Never can. So, where was I? Yeah. Just lazy loading, you know. You just have all the data fucking stored in here for software. So when you load up software, it does pull it into the RAM at the end, but just to keep things quick, holds everything in here. So you have all of your I/O just going all throughout this. I know this isn't a great sketch. So, let's see. What's the best way to describe this? There's a lot of fucking systems that I've been working on that integrate together in this. So, ArchibaldOS is basically supposed to run on anything from 08 to now. And that's because of the CachyOS RT Borer kernel. Technically, if you got the standard Linux kernel and did a preemptive patch on it, like I was mentioning earlier, you can run everything down to like a Pentium 4. I haven't tried it on a Pentium 4 yet, but I think it's possible to run this entire operating system on a single core processor and actually get pretty fast latency, and it actually could be competing because since it's a single core processor, you know, there's not really any jitter between the different cores. And that just gets into a whole bunch of other shit, and I'm not here to really educate you, I'm still learning, so I'm just trying to teach you on like the basics of like what Archibald is. There is so the best way to put it, yeah, I guess like, you know, flakes are really niche, so I need to explain that. So you got a flake.nix, right? That flake, and you might even be asking like, well, what the fuck is a flake? Well, when you use NixOS, you have a configuration file, and it's just configuration.nix. That sits within your etiquette / NixOS, whatever the fuck, you know. So when you go into that directory, I know it's fucked, just NixOS, alright, I fucked it up, I don't really fucking care to fix it. But you go into that directory, you edit the configuration file, and then you go back after you save it, you know, by doing and what I like to do is just a quick sudo nix os rebuild like once every week or so, because you don't know when the software's been updated or whenever. I mean, at least I don't know if there's any way you can get notified. I just like to do that to try to stay up to date. Honestly, you don't need to. I've not stuck to that rule either, and if you really wanted to, you could probably figure out a system to automate that. I guarantee some random nerds already figured that shit out. But when you have these configurations, you'd be thinking like, yeah, I can share my operating system, basically, like my entire operating system, if I just share this one file, right? And technically you're right, but it's naive as hell, because what about like the actual image or whatever? And you could be like, oh yeah, I could just build an image off that configuration, but like, well, if someone doesn't want like all the packages that you have and like, you know, make things modular, or to like there's a whole bunch of different use cases, but like modularity is the biggest one for me. So what flakes are really good at doing is that you have a main flake, and this bastard basically helps basically oversee everything, including your configuration file. But what it's really good at is basically packaging it as a image that you can build. And the way the Archibald is set up is that you have a directory on the root of this flake. It's modules. And within this modules directory, I've got the audio, Nix, the desktop, the base. There's a lot of other things. Like, I was even working on a fucking tone assistant, which is like the tone assistant uses Lisp as an orchestrator, and then it's got FOSS as like a compiler, and then it uses a small language model, like something like Llama or whatever. I'm still figuring that one out, but then there's another machine learning library I was going to use. I forgot the name of it. I already have it written down somewhere. But I was going to use that so you could build a model within like 50 minutes or so if you put like an entire album into it. But I'm planning on making a bunch of training data and making a bunch of different tones because I'm pretty good at doing that. So I'm going to be working on getting basically a really well-made professional database to make models that I'll be sharing with you guys here soon. And that'll allow you to integrate a Emacs live audio programming system. So if you like want to make your own effects and stuff like that, this AI model will be able to help you completely locally. I won't have any servers or anything attached to it. You can look at the code yourself. No bullshit. Back to the point on the operating system. I also have like different hardware tweaks and different things like that. So say, you know, it'd be like RPI 3B, which is definitely not an existing file. It's named differently, but there is one for RPI. And yeah, so when you get all of that, these files that sit inside of this directory, you can reference them inside of this flake. And then there's a bunch of logic that you can follow inside of this flake to basically set it up to where if you want to have a reproducible system with specific packages, you just have to use a few flags in the build command. So you just do like it's Nix build, I'm pretty sure. I'm honestly pretty lazy. I just smash up on the fucking arrows and don't really think about that shit. But it's just like Nix build, and then you do like hashtag whatever, you know. But you have to like make this flag in that configuration, and the one way that you set up modules too is that you just go into the flake, and then there's a section for modules where you can enable them and even configure the modules if the modules have that option propped up. And when everything's set up correctly and you have everything set up right, because Nix is a pain in the ass, but it's worth it, because once you have everything all polished and perfect, you have a completely reproducible system, bit for bit, across hardware from the Obama era to now, to a fucking Pentium 4, to a Raspberry Pi 3B, and I haven't tested it yet, but you could technically try to load this shit onto a Asahi Linux on like a Apple computer, like one of their ARM chips. I've already ran this shit on the 2014 MacBook Air that doesn't even install GarageBand because it doesn't even support it anymore. Yeah, I was able to record 24-bit 96 kilohertz audio. It's kind of crazy, you know, when you got like a multi-million-dollar research team and then just some bastard who's sitting alone, you know, just doesn't. It sucks to suck, I guess. That's the thing. Like, how come no one else has done this before? I mean, I'm not just saying this on like the open source community, like, no, I'm not bashing you guys. I mean, they're like half the reason why most of the internet and everything exists. But like, how in the hell was I able to get a 2014 MacBook Air that has a dual core 1.4 gigahertz processor, 4 gigabytes of DDR3L RAM, and I was basically able to turn it into a damn DSP that was actually fun to play to my guitar through, because Guitar X is actually really optimized. And what's even worse about it is that I tested it off an SD card boot, and I was using USB hubs to push the latency that much harder, and it still wasn't noticeable. Okay, think about that. It had to go through USB and a USB hub. And USB hubs do add a little bit of latency. They're not like, you know, if you've worked on the ICs and all that, you know that shit. What sucks is even PCIe has latency too. There's like a trade-off with everything. You know, and I got a comment lately that like, you know, ArchibaldOS is just the RAM, you know, and once it's all loaded into the RAM, you know, it's just pretty fast from there. And you know, if that was the case, then why the fuck hasn't Apple done it, you know, with their unified memory? You know, you think they would have a fucking perfect setup for that shit, yet I somehow fucking beat them. Give me a fucking break. Apple's not even a good hardware company. Like, what the fuck do they even do? Make hardware that you can't even fucking hack? They'll just sue your ass. Oh, how dare you fix my product? I'm gonna put you through a bunch of fucking legal stress and basically screw your fucking family's wealth over because I have a big ass ego and I'm a fucking fuckwad when it comes to making technology because I just want to fucking milk people. I love you, Apple. Making Steve Jobs proud. The Disney of tech. Seriously, Apple is straight up the Disney of tech. Think about it. Well, it could be Microsoft too, I guess. I mean, Microsoft's pretty fucking out there. Buying everything and just shutting it down because they're just fucking retarded as well. I mean, what's nice is that they're, you know, quote-unquote AI laptops. I can fucking turn those bastards into DSPs as well, and it has a perfect AI chip for my Lisp setup. Wouldn't that be nice? You know, make a bunch of useless computers that people don't even really want to buy because you got this fucking half-baked, retarded-ass AI built into it that's meant to spy on you, like, more than help you. Oh yeah, how's the Microsoft recall going? I bet the fucking... I bet everyone's been loving that lately, right? Fuck, I haven't had Windows on a personal computer in fucking years at this point. I fucking hate Windows, dude. Like, if your software only runs on Windows or Apple, you suck. I'm being honest. Like, if your video game can't even run on fucking Linux, dude, like, why the fuck are you even using that game engine? Especially with Steam and everything, dude. Like, you think you could do this shit with fucking Microsoft or Apple? You think any of their R&D teams would actually think about doing anything like this? I mean, I'm not trying to suck my own dick here, but I mean, like, I don't even think this is that crazy. I mean, for fuck's sakes. So, that's the thing, too, is, the Mac Pro, $7,000. Okay? I think you get like 32 gigabytes of RAM or something, maybe. I might be overstating it. Like, you know, of course it's DDR5, but it's unified memory. Alright. Unified memory. With their specialized SoCs. And if you try to make a real-time kernel for it, they'll probably fucking sue you. You know, actually making a use case for audio with their hardware, you know. One of the main reasons why people buy their shit in the first place. Who am I kidding? But, what's fucking hilarious is I legitimately think that their little box that costs $7,000 that you legally cannot